are a lot of fans out there, though, who did blame Bob Melvin for this season's disappointment.
No
and
question.
Feel like the Padres are going in a better direction without Bob, just because, I don't feel that way, and I don't think Woods feels that way. I didn't think Bob was the problem at all this year. Doesn't mean we're right either. Those fans might be right. And I'll show you an example. A guy brought up the Chargers. I think the Phillies are a telling example. They had a manager with a better overall career record than Bob Melvin, who had won a Manager of the Year and a World Series title, which Bob never had as their skipper. And they fired him in the middle of the season last year in favor of a bench coach who, let's be honest, no one knew who Rob Thompson was from Adam. And no one knew him. Who's the hottest right now manager in baseball after leading the Phillies to the World Series last year and now on the doorstep of a World Series again this year? Rob Thompson. What did he do? He was Joe Girardi's bench coach for years and years and years. What was different about Rob Thompson than Joe Girardi? How did that organization change when you took number 2, Joe Girardi, and made him the big guy? I don't know what worked, but it did work. It's baseball. It's weird. And it's quite possible that the Padres find someone who just ends up being a better fit and a better click and unlocks something for the Padres next year. Now, my brain says it's going to be really hard to find someone who's even as good as Bob, much less an improvement on Bob, but I acknowledge that absolutely possibly could happen next year.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, if they're like it's Ryan Flaherty, what are you going to do as a Padre fan? All right. Okay. Good luck. Right? I mean, what are all our alternatives? Like you're going to eat what they give you, and you don't have a choice. You have to eat it. And
if they start winning a bunch of games, we won't care at all.
Right.
And if they start losing a bunch of games, we'll all go, I told you so, and the Padres will know as well as anyone that they've got a problem. If they hire a manager who then goes out and is 10 games under 500 in the first half of the season next year with a $200+ million payroll, they'll go, man, we are really heading down the wrong path. We've taken this organization in the wrong direction. They'll know it. They won't need you to shout it from the rooftops. I would think that if they don't come out and have a good season next year, they will know that they're going the wrong direction.
So where's the blame fall? Who gets the blame for this? Who gets the blame for the entire situation, in your opinion? Just one man's opinion. Who does it fall on?
I think it's mixed. It's like anything. It's not all one person's fault.
No, I tell you, it's one person's fault, in my opinion. It's A.J. Preller's fault that this is happening. And maybe, here's the beauty of it. And I guess not if you're A.J. Preller, it's not beautiful. But so you hired him, right? Why did you hire a guy that now wants to leave? So at the end of the day, you rubber stamped it, you signed off, you gave him the deal, you got him. It was a great move. We all thought, you thought at the time. You hired him. It's got to fall on you. The fact that he's interested in another job, guess what? That's your fault. It is. It's just the way that it works. You made a bad hire. Another bad hire. Regardless of win-loss record, regardless of disappointing season last year, at the end of the day, your name is on all of these hires. The fault can't go to anyone else.
So if it's AJ's fault, the question was who gets the blame.
Correct.
And I think fault and blame are different, and blame is more shared than the fault. And I think you have to throw Peter Seidler into the blame mix.
I agree with you. If the plan is to make it look like we wanted Bob all along, and he just refused to work with us and wanted to leave desperately, and so that's on Bob. I don't buy that.
Then why did you hire him?
And I agree.
Why wasn't he vetted?
So I agree with you. Whether you fire him or let him go, you made the wrong hire.
You made the wrong decision.
But ultimately, you just said, someone hired AJ. Someone continues to employ AJ.
Sure.
So, you do have to look above him at Peter Seidler and the decisions that are made. And if truly the Padres are going down the wrong path, ultimately, it does go all the way to the top. We love Peter Seidler and what he's done for this city and what he has invested in the Padres and just changed our entire outlook on baseball. But at some point, if this continues to happen and AJ keeps hiring managers that he can't work with and they have to get rid of them within 2 seasons over and over again, then at some point someone needs to, check AJ and say, it's not working. And to have blind faith then in your general manager, despite the evidence that he is not capable of hiring a manager that he can successfully work with, and this is now 4 times, that to me is some of the blame and responsibility for what's going on here.
Opening your checkbook and hiring, signing all these free agents and turning Petco Park into the place to be in San Diego, those are great things. That's not all that being a team owner is, though. Right?
No, it's how you have to hire the right people to hire the right people. But again,
you can open up the checkbook and buy a Maserati, but if you don't maintain it, if you pour gas into it,
I'm not saying Bob Melvin is absolved of any blame or anything. Even for the failures of last year, I thought he made some questionable decisions. All managers do. That's always going to be in me. Every manager blows it from time to time. I never got the sense that he lost the clubhouse. And I have no basis of backing this up whatsoever. My only thing I thought about Bob is towards the end of the year, he seemed like he was checked out. And I think if you're in a relationship that I'm not saying it was toxic. I'm saying if you deem it to be toxic, if it's toxic for you, the checkout thing is just a way to protect yourself and a way to protect your mental well-being. And to go in and nod, we got to get it going. But we've seen this before. The lack of accountability with this team is staggering. Staggering from the players to the manager to the general manager. And AJ has to say, this is what it boils down to. You made the hire. He's now wanting to interview with a division rival. That's your fault. You hired a guy that is not committed. If that's in fact the case. Was it because of what you did? When we had him on our show, we asked him. He goes, and he did it in the Zoom meeting too. He called into question the reporting of a lot of the guys in town. We asked him the question, is Bob coming back? Yeah, Bob's our manager. We don't talk about contract stuff. That was red flag number 1 for me. Well, red flag number 1 was not being on the Zoom. Red flag number 2 was then on this show. He's we don't talk about contracts or things like that. So you knew that the relationship was fractured. I don't appreciate the dancing around of that question. Not like he could have really said it because we already knew it. We knew the answer. But at the end of the day, it falls on him. He made another bad hire. Bob Melvin now is a bad hire. Why? Because he wants to interview with the Giants. That's a bad hire. That's on you. You did it. If we brought in a 4th voice on this show, a 4th chair, and that person went on a social media rampage and was doing horrible stuff, guess whose fault it is? It's my fault.
If Bob Melvin was offered a contract extension with the Padres, would he want to still go to the Giants?
Exactly.
If the Padres had offered him another 3 years on top of this year, some security, would he say, no, I'm good staying here then? That's it's hard for me to blame Bob for wanting. I'm sure the Giants will not. I'm going to offer him more than a 1-year deal.
I'm assuming they will. Yes.
He'd be dumb not to go and interview somewhere that wants to keep him and pay him probably $15 million over the course of the next 4 years versus the Padres, who very well, things didn't go well the first 3 months of next year. He'd be fired with no job options. So it's smart of Bob to want to go interview with the Giants. It's also probably smart of the Padres not to offer Bob a contract extension right now as well. Would you think it's smart at this moment to offer Bob Melvin a contract extension?
Well, no, because what it told me is you guys didn't do anything to repair your relationship, and that's on both of you. You didn't. You said we're buddies. We talk 5 times a day. You didn't do anything to repair your relationship. So, no, you don't offer somebody a contract extension if you think you can't work with them. And you don't accept a contract extension if you think you can't work with them. But one thing I have learned about managers and really anyone in a position to have a job like that is, dude, have you ever maybe dated somebody that you knew you heard red flags about and you're like, I can fix her. It's risk reward. I can totally turn this around. Every manager's like, there's 30 of these available, and they're not all available at the same time. There's maybe 2 to 3 a year. Yeah, I know it's toxic. I know their roster sucks. I know they don't have any money. I know they blew the draft 3 years in a row. I'll take it. I'll do it. They're cucks. They're all cucks. Every single manager out there is a cuck. Everyone. You're like, yeah, no, it's the terrible. I'm in. Let's go. Why? Because you want to be a manager. I don't blame you for that. It's like a radio job. I had to get on my knees to get back in here. I'm a cuck. I'm telling you the same thing. I had to come in here and beg for my job back because I had a family and I wanted to do this. And I had to. Everyone wants to think they're principled and moral and everything, have all these morals. When it comes down to it, you want to be a manager at the big league level, or you want to be a morning radio show host. You will do what you have to do to get that gig.